Hey guys, I got a video by Venatrix here called You Haven't Heard This About Feminism Before. I don't know that I have a whole lot to add to whatever this video is going to be talking about. I don't really talk a whole lot about feminism, at least not yet on the channel. It's not something that I've really dove into talking about my opinions on, so we'll see if I have anything to add. But I really like Venatrix, and I like the content that she puts out. I like her takes on a lot of things. And so I had been wanting to react to something of hers, and I wanted to watch this video. And as I think people are starting to figure out, I just do whatever I want on this channel. So if that sounds fun to you, to just hang around and do whatever I want, then give me a like, give me a subscribe, and we'll hang out. We'll go along with it. Anyways, so without further ado, you haven't heard this about feminism before. Let's hear what you have to say, Venatrix.
Radical feminism taught women to hate their bodies and opened the door for the people who want to change what they were born at as cults.
I'm not sure where she's streaming this on while she's doing that. Is there something about using the word? Am I not supposed to be using the word transgender on YouTube? Or maybe somewhere? I'm unsure as to why she censored that. Honestly, if somebody knows, please let me know in the comments or something if that's a no-no word that I should be avoiding. I really don't like the whole having to talk around the words especially when it's like already right there on screen. But YouTube is not my house. It's YouTube's house. I will obey their rules while I am in their house.
Okay, and I started reading this, and from what I read, I was like, wow, this fits my experience as a woman exactly. The gaslighting. It was just about women being able to open bank accounts and buy property is the gaslighting of feminism, which is not even true. Like, that's something that I was listening to in Rachel Wilson's book when I was driving to work, and I was like, what the heck? This isn't even true.
Rachel Wilson is then like Andrew Wilson's wife. Is that right? Yeah, that's something that I had heard growing up, that like first wave feminism was all about freedom and liberation for women, for them to be able to vote, for them to be able to open bank accounts and have jobs. And recently I've been hearing a narrative shift on that, well, actually that's not quite right as to what it was about from the beginning, and that it was a little bit more insidious from the beginning. So we'll see if she has anything for us.
Apparently women, I think it was in...
Oh, she moved over to this side. I gotta move over to that side. Give me 1 second. All right, we're swapping places. We're dancing back and forth, Venatrix.
Rome were allowed to own property, and like various places throughout history. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the exact wording, but the way that it was done, like, gave them the benefits of property ownership, but shielded them from some of the responsibilities. So I'll have to look it up. But if you look into Rachel Wilson's book on occult feminism, she explains it, and it's very enlightening.
What's the name on the book of the book? You said it's by Rachel Wilson. It's on occult feminism. Is that the name of the book?
Anyways, that feminism was just about women being able to open bank accounts and buy property. For decades, we've been told that feminism was about empowering women. But, and this is so ingrained, like, I feel like even in right-wing women, like, there's a lot of women on the right that claim to be, like, trad and, you know, anti-feminism, but they don't really touch on this. Like, I'm thinking of the, Megyn Kelly's of the world, you know, like, they're still acting like feminists. Most people would be wise to read Helen Andrews and her counterpart on female reproductive suppression, Danny Solakowski. Oh, interesting. I'll have to look that up.
When she's speaking about women on the right that still kind of act very feminist, man, I can't think of her name right now. Blonde girl, younger, I want to say she's in her 20s probably. Though probably approaching 30 at this point. But a right-wing political pundit, I can't think of her name, but she talks about, I remember watching her talk about how she's single and all of her beautiful and successful friends are single. And it's like, well, you don't, you don't seem to be understanding what men are actually looking for, and especially traditional men. They're not looking for traditionally. I'm going to speak in generalities. Everything in this video is in generalities unless otherwise specified. So I don't want to have to go and clarify every time. I'm speaking in general. So this is just a blanket statement. Generalities are being made. Okay. So traditional men aren't looking for a woman that is like successful in the workplace. They want to be successful in the workplace, and they want someone that can support them in their lives in other ways. They have other things that they're looking for. So, and I know I'm making this conversation about feminism about men. I can already hear screaming harpies getting upset at me for that. But I'm just saying that she's right, that a lot of people that are on the right still seem to be infected with this kind of feminism-driven mindset.
By framing pregnancy, breastfeeding, and feminine culture as biological traps, the radical feminists of the 60s and 70s didn't liberate women, they shamed them into self-loathing. They created a vacuum of biological nihilism that the modern people who want to change what they were at birth cult has simply stepped in to fill. And I think that's so interesting, because I actually do think that this slippery slope makes a lot of sense. At least like growing up, and I don't know what your experience has been, but I've heard lots of like, oh, how easy it is to be a man. Like women just absolutely.
Oh boy. Women do not understand how difficult it is to be a man. They absolutely do not. And I'm not going to say that I fully understand how difficult it is to be a woman. There are different difficulties for men and women. We are different, and I think that's okay to recognize. But especially in the last, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. Good Lord, I am so glad I'm married, and I don't have to deal with like the dating pool. Everything I look at about modern dating right now, it just makes me want to rip my hair out. I would not want to be a part of that. I am so glad that I that I found a good woman. Guys out there who I feel for you. I don't know that I have any great advice, but it's I understand that it's really rough out there.
Hating the trap of what they are and then trying to act like men. Like that was really popular. Like when I was in high school, was like women trying to be like, well, if a guy can be a player, like so can I can sleep with whoever I want. And just like no care at all to find out maybe there's like differences between.
I've heard some people more right wing saying that due to the biological differences and the realities of that men can be players, and that's viewed as a good thing, whereas women should not be. And that often they explain that that has to do with the fact that women are the guardians of sex, and you can equate it to like playing soccer or football for any of you people across the pond. Where like if you're the goalie, you don't get praised for putting goals in your own goal repeatedly. You don't get praised for putting soccer balls in your own goal repeatedly. That's a bad thing if you're the goalie, if you're kind of the protector of it. If you're a striker, if you're someone that's trying to be, I think that's what they're called. I don't know sports. I'm choosing an analogy that's terrible for me. But if you're a striker and you're trying to get the ball in the court and you're able to get it past the goalie, that's viewed as a good thing. So, and people try and say that there's this biological difference there. I have a different view on that, to be honest. I think it's best for neither of you to have been players. I don't think it's good for your mental health to be going and using women like that. Nor should women be debasing themselves and allow themselves to be used, or they shouldn't be using men. These are not good things that people are doing when they do that. I know people think it's unrealistic to think that abstinence is an option, but it absolutely is. I promise you, you can do it. It has been done. It has been done for a long time, and it is the best option it is best for when you are with your forever partner that you don't have sexual like that you don't have sexual experiences with other partners to be constantly comparing them to. It's just better that way, I promise.
Between men and women, maybe what we're like so saying we're jealous of doesn't fit, you know, like just this cut and dry, like men must have something that we don't get to have by being men, and we should be masculinized because that.
Yeah, it's not that men get to have that. It's again, I feel like I'm just interrupting too much, but it's not good that men are being promiscuous. It's really not.
I'll be better. Fertility suppression, intersexual competition game where women sabotage other women, thus restrict genetic propagation. Okay, here's another base take that I don't hear a lot. I think women also try to gatekeep men's preference for younger women. And I'm saying younger, like reasonably younger, legally, whatever you want to say, right? Like I'm not saying anything ridiculous. But men's preference to marry a woman or be with a woman or just be interested sexually in a woman that is in her fertile prime, and women being like, wow, that's like so predatory. Like you just want a 20-year-old so you can manipulate her. Like to me, that's gatekeeping. That's women who are like approaching the wall or have hit the wall and are trying to gatekeep to make a bigger pool of the desirable men that they want feel like they're gonna get shamed for going after women that are younger than them, even if it's a totally reasonable scenario. Because I've heard people say that about like a 20-year-old, a 22-year-old. They're just a kid. Like, are really?
Nope. I mean, legally, if you're over 18, you are an adult. I cannot imagine myself ever going for someone that is 18. Like, theoretically, if my wife had passed away and I had to, and years down the line, I was looking for another person. I'm putting this theoretical out because I have no, as it is currently, I have no desire to find anyone else. I am very happy with my wife. She is an amazing woman. I am truly blessed to have her. So I'm just trying to put myself into a hypothetical situation where this might be a possibility. But even then, I can't see myself going for someone that's 18. 18 feels too young for me. But there is a visual attraction to younger women, like to, I would say, 20s or something is fine. And if they're definitely adults, stop infantilizing adult women and trying to destroy their options. If they want to date an older man, they can. And if an older man wants to date a younger woman and she'll date him, he can. It's fine. And it's what's been going on biologically for eternity. It's not abnormal. Quick video interruption. I've been putting out at least one video a day. If I brought you any enjoyment, I would appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I do read all of them. Thanks. Back to the video.
Is that really the angle we're going with here? So, just saying. Trade-off for being a man is no one cares about how you feel. Yeah, you know what else? Like, if you're like any level of attractive as a woman, I feel like you can get pretty old. Like older women even are still getting attention. They still get regular attention, people wanting to be nice to them, like going out of their way, doing things for them. And I feel like men never get that. Like they've never, like, it's even weird, like in my head to be like, wow, like men never like get to experience that.
If I can share a little bit about that, I've always had a very young looking face, and that's really bothered me a lot. And some people, especially women, seem to not be able to understand. They always say, oh, well, when you're older, you'll love that you look younger. And it's like, no, actually, I don't want to look young. I don't want to be a young man. I'm smart, capable, strong. And when somebody looks at a young man, they see incompetent, probably lazy. They don't see someone who's seasoned in the world and someone who has experience. They don't respect a young man. A young man, men have to be able to build their respect. People, it's not just a given that they will be respected. And so, yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Like, it's a whole...
Oh yeah, she was. I'm trying to remember what she was saying. I got off on my own tangent there. Um, so yeah, people don't care what a man feels. They don't care what a man thinks and feels. They just not inherently, not by default, like many women experience. And that's probably not all women. Probably not all women experience that. Though I would say that attractive women, especially attractive young women, by default have that granted to them. But it doesn't matter with men. You're not respected unless you earn that respect, and that's why I don't like looking young. I want to look my age or maybe even older. That's why I am proud of the gray hairs that are coming in on my face.
Oh, women wouldn't survive very well if they had to live without that affirmation. Hi, Ben. Hi, Hideki. Hello. Gotta be 40 to have kids. I mean, honestly, at 40, like at least you're responsible. You're not manipulated as a dumb 20-year-old who is basically still a child. Like, what a ridiculous argument. What they don't realize is it doesn't make the man choose the undesired person. It often leads them from abstaining from a relationship. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Men remember the last compliment they heard from 20 years ago. That's so sad. That's so sad. And I have to say, like, something crazy is like my viewership is like 98%, maybe 99% male. I think Dizzy Lizzy is the only.
I think that's true of pretty much any VTuber, even even guy VTubers. My viewership is, I last I checked, 96% male. So I've got at least one female in my audience, which is like a woman. I'm just like surprised that they exist out here on the internet sometimes. But yeah, most of the VTuber audience in general is male. Most of YouTube in general is male, is my understanding. I think YouTube skews something like 75% male to 25% female for people that watch it. I would bet Instagram is a little different. You probably have a lot more females on Instagram. Um, but anyways, yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that her viewer base is 99% male.
Woman that watches my stuff. Maybe there's like one other one. But it's just crazy because like in my experience dealing with women, and I heard something about this the other day too. Like because they're not generally so emotionally reactive, and because men are just like wired to be more logical, they I feel like they interact in like such a more merited social experience than women do. Like for women it's like protecting each other from the truth, you know what I mean? Like your allegiance to another woman, not always but like definitely generally, is that you're protecting the other woman from making her feel bad, basically. And with men it's like
Hmm.
no, they're gonna tell them like, hey bro, like what are you doing, you're being a douche or whatever it is.
Sometimes that protecting, sometimes when women protect other women from feeling bad, it's actually a purposeful sabotage on the other women. I have seen women uh, try to say, oh no, you're perfect just the way you are, knowing that they're not. It's the whole calling every woman a 10 thing. If everyone's a 10, no one's a 10, and then you can't ever like differentiate between them when obviously that's not true. Like, whatever you're rating for someone, there's going to be variety in the rating. Not everyone is going to be a 10 out of 10 in every aspect of their personality, their looks, and everything, you know? So I've seen women tell them that, like, oh no, queen, you're a 10 out of 10, and intentionally trying to keep women from ever actually improving themselves because then they look better in comparison if if they already perceive themselves to be kind of a higher tier, a step above in looks or whatever. It's really insidious to watch, and obviously that's not always happening. It's not every interaction, but I've seen it enough times to know that it's absolutely happens, especially when they'll say say something, and then as soon as they're behind that woman's back, they start bad mouthing her and saying how ugly she is or whatever. So they're definitely capable of playing both sides. Whereas she's right, men typically will tell each other more straightforward, more bluntly, like, no, dude, get to the gym. You're weak. Go work out. Dude, you haven't been to church. Get to church. Read the Bible. You know, they'll be on each other. At least good bros will.
And it's going to be respected that like they care enough about you to try to correct your behavior rather than just like hate you behind your back and then like destroy your life or just ghost you. You know what I mean? Like that's actually happened to me before with a friend where I told her the truth about something that she was doing, which was like super not okay, and that was the end of our friendship. So just a little rant on female and male relationships.
That's really sad to hear. Honestly, it's sad to hear that when friendships break up because someone is unwilling to listen to the truth, or if they just want their own opinions or thoughts affirmed rather than actually wanting input, and the friendship breaks up because of that. That genuinely saddens me to hear that.
One time a woman flirted with me. Oh, ghastly. I usually get the door closed.
Oh man, one time a woman flirted with me. I can remember back to times when I was in high school and I didn't memories I had from high school that I didn't realize until now. And I'm not going to tell you my age, but well past high school, and talking to my wife about things that happened in high school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that girl might have had a crush on me. I think she was flirting with me. I didn't recognize it at the time. Man, I was so dumb when it came to women at the time. I still am, but I'm smart when it comes to my wife, and that's what matters.
On me when I'm walking behind a woman when they're walking through the same door. What the heck? I always hold the door for everyone. I don't know. It's just rude. I don't really like the logic emotion framing. Both logic and emotion can be wrong. You should use them as tools. I mean, fair that you could land on the wrong logical conclusion. I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about on a macro scale, I think because men resort to logic more often than women, they're more likely to land on a reasonable conclusion. Therefore, interacting with men often goes more reasonably.
I think that men do rely on logic more often, but if you look at like the bell curve of intelligence, where you have more very intelligent men, but also more really dumb men, you'll have plenty of people that are really dumb trying to rely on intelligence and logic, but their logic is just so internally flawed that they're still pretty dumb. So just because we rely more on logic does not mean that by and large we are more successful because of it. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that the lower half of that bell curve tries to use the logic, but it doesn't. Their logic is just too flawed.
Than interacting with women, because it's just like a biological proclivity, if that makes sense. You can obviously also make your logic like a slave to your emotions, so that can also be a shortcoming there. But just generally speaking, men make friends through respecting each other. Women make friends by how much they make each other feel. Yeah, and I feel like women also act that way in relationships too, where it's just all about how they feel, and like feelings come and go.
Yeah, men and women are different in what they prioritize in relationships. I love my wife, and I want to love my wife perfectly as well as she wants, and she's ultimately the decider as to whether I'm loving her well enough or not. Because my goal as a husband is to love her, I need to know how she needs to be loved and what actually communicates that love to her. And so, yeah, she's the one that ultimately gets to decide whether I'm loving her properly or not. On the other side, while I like when she loves me, I like that she loves me, but most important is that she respects me. Her respect for me is far more important to me than love. It's weird. It's something that I never expected when I was younger, when I was a kid, before I met her, that I didn't expect that. But once we got married, all of a sudden that respect and trust is so much more key. And as I've thought about it, I think part of it's because I also view as my role as a husband is to protect and provide for her in a lot of ways. Um, and because my role is to protect her, that means that she needs to be trusting me that if there is a threat, or if there's some sort of danger about, I need to know that she trusts me to be able to make the call to say, nope, we need to go, or we need to do this. And if she does not trust me and respect me, then I'm not able to fulfill that role that I feel that God has placed on me as a husband.
And I feel like the mark of actual like affection or care for someone, whether it's a friend or not, is like what you're willing to do when like you're not feeling it and like you're not liking them very much, but like you're still doing the right thing, right? Like I think that's the merited difference. Okay, with all of that said, this was interesting to me because like I said, this has been my experience. The body as, oh, this is interesting. The body as a deformation. The architects of the second wave of feminism didn't just want equal pay, as they claimed. They wanted an exit ramp from biology. Yes. I think this is also what birth control is about because, like, oh, like, who wants to deal with bleeding every month? Who wants to deal with having to be careful with the intercourse that you're having to not get pregnant? Like, what a burden. Like, I absolutely think that that's also the motivator for a lot of women to even choose to take birth control. Like, if we're thinking about personal responsibility, you know?
I'm not very knowledgeable on birth control, especially hormonal birth control, but everything that I've seen makes me really worried about the widespread use of hormonal birth control. If it's something that you're thinking about, even like as a married couple, if you're a married couple and you're thinking about using birth control as your means of protection, really look into it because there's, I don't know, it worries me. It kind of scares me the way that hormones do a lot in a person's body, and just be careful.
And so just trying to not have to deal with their gender rather than viewing like, oh wow, like what does being a woman have to offer me? Like what a cool thing to be able to harbor life and like everything that goes into that. So um Shulamith Firestone, in her 1970 manifesto, The Dialectic of Sex, was chillingly direct. And I also asked Grok to verify the claims in this article. And from everything that it went through that I got to read, like I said, I didn't read this whole thing, but it was saying like, no, like these are actual direct quotes and like you could put your interpretation onto it. But I mean, come on, like if this is what it is, then this is what they said. She called pregnancy barbaric and described it as the temporary deformation of the body of the individual for the sake of the species. Okay, she argued that women would never be free until reproduction was handled by machines in a lab.
Ooh.
Like it's anti-design, it's anti-archetype. It's not having faith to be like, okay, well, if I was designed this way, maybe there's a reason why it is. Maybe there's something that can come from that. It's like, no, I don't like this, so I'm not dealing with it. Simone de Beauvoir, radical feminism's philosophical mother, sang the same tune in her book, The Second Sex. She claimed a woman is the victim of the species, arguing that her, God, these women are so annoying. They're just like so whiny and wrong, arguing that her natural functions were a tiring task that yielded no personal benefit, only serving the needs of the egg.
Calling women the victim of the species because they give birth when men are protectors and having to put their lives on the line for women constantly. Basically every culture that's ever existed. So you could claim it's a cultural construct or whatever, but basically every culture has developed this. I think it is a innate biological thing for the men to be protectors and put their own lives on the line. That's the reason why we have women and children first, and women and children getting the life rafts while men stay on the boat to die. Like this is something, and that's why men go to war largely. That's why even when we open up the military services to females to be able to enlist, it's still largely men that choose to do it because we have this biological drive to protect. and that's just part of who we are. And it's weird to me to claim that the women are the victim of this arrangement when men are literally dying for them. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on that one a little bit longer, I think, because I'd never heard this quote before, but it seems wild to me.
You know what's a tiring task for women? I think it's a tiring task to have your biology be such a cool and beautiful thing that's made to make you so in tune with creating or like, harboring a life inside of you. But then instead of listening to all the crazy and cool and like perfectly spot on signals that your body is giving you to do the thing that it was designed to, instead you have to force it down and pump your milk and wear your uncomfortable bra and force yourself under fluorescent lights for 8 hours. Like, I don't know. To me, that seems like kind of a tiring task. Like, just saying.
Also seems really weird to say that a woman gets no benefit from having a child. Every mother I have ever known would disagree with that.
All of this sounds like women cock blocking women from having children, thus reducing resource competition and genetic lineage long term. Yeah, well, I'll just say that none of these feminists are lookers, okay? I love your opinions, Ben. Very
Burn.
traditional. I like it. Oh, hey, I'm glad you like it. It's just the obvious conclusion that I've come to after experiencing this craziness. Germaine Greer's War on the Womb. No one weaponized this body pessimism, and I'm just saying, like, so if you think about this, like, if you think about if you have to like have all these female things happening, right? Like your hormonal cycle and the bleeding and getting pregnant, or like you could get pregnant, or like how you eat and exercise and sleep is going to affect your hormones and sex drive and relationships and the kind of men you're attracted to and the health of your babies and all of that. And you think about that, and then you combine that with like, and also you have to be a worker and have a career and like dedicate your life to that. Don't you think that would like work really well with this body pessimism of like, oh wow, well it'd be easier if I didn't have to like wear these uncomfortable clothes, if I didn't have to wear a bra to look a certain way, which ironically, like, we're so feminist, we're so free, but like bras are still enforced. Just, it doesn't make sense for feminists to be the way they are, okay? It's a contradiction. But
there are plenty of men out there that would like for bras to not be enforced and want to see them swinging free. That's all I'm going to say about that. Again, I only have eyes for my wife.
Like, it would make sense that, okay, well, if I just take birth control and then I don't have to bleed and I don't have to worry about getting pregnant and I don't have to have, ideally, they would say, emotional ups and downs, even though it messes your body up and all sorts of other ways, then wouldn't that just be so much easier to deal with work? Like,
Yeah, if I just completely remove all of my natural biological functions, then this unnatural thing would be so much easier. Yeah.
This seems like, talk about a psyop, talk about a way to structure society to have people stop having kids, or at least the groups that are now not allowed to have kids, basically, because of all these restraints, and to launch everybody into the marketplace so we can dilute wages, so we can pin men and women against each other, so we can weaken the family, so we can weaken kids being raised that are just being thrown into schools because two parents have to work. Like, the whole thing makes perfect sense. And like, oh, conveniently, if you just change your gender, well, it'd be easier then to do what you're supposed to do in the workplace. Like, just saying. Rachel Wilson about to have a debate on whatever podcast with a feminist. Oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe we should tune into that. I would love, I don't know. I have to think about it, but
Okay, so that kind of confirms to me that the Rachel Wilson she was referring to is Andrew Wilson's wife.
I would love to have Rachel Wilson like to interview her. I feel like no VTuber has ever interviewed at least people like that before.
Do it. Interview her. I would watch that.
Tell me if you guys would like that in the chat, but I feel like that'd be fun. I'd want to put together like some good questions for her, but
yes.
I feel like she'd be a great person if she'd be willing to. I'll have to keep that in mind for the future.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, I was always taught to be kind to my sisters and other women. I don't ever remember my parents telling my sisters to be kind to me or other men. I was very much so, and it wasn't just like my family. I was very much so, like brought up in a culture where it was like you're skeptical of men. Like men are guilty until proven innocent. Like they're approaching you like, they must want to drug your drink. Like that's the kind of like culture that I was brought up in. Whether it was like said in a funny way or not, that's very much so the experience that I had. I feel
Yeah, same. That's pretty similar to me.
like those feminists are just craving for some Dickens cider. That would probably solve their problem. Can you imagine killing your baby because you want to go from junior events manager to senior events manager? Crazy. Yeah, I know. Super disturbing. When you spend, okay, this is the language too. The language that these women use is so intense. Describing, so she said, body pessimism, blah, blah, blah. In her book, she didn't just attack the patriarchy, she attacked the very heart of the maternal bond. Greer famously dismissed the suburban mother as a woman with no interest in her own life, describing children as the parasites who consume her. Like, dude, what do you think you're alive for? Like, what the heck? Like, to Greer, the home, this is so funny. The home was a repetitive, stupid, and uncreative treadmill, as opposed to going to the workplace and working for some corporation or government to do menial, even if it's important, like monotonous, consistent, structured tasks.
A lot of the women at the time thought that if they got in the workplace, they would be the CEO. They would be at the top. They would be somewhere where they could have some real power. And unfortunately, the reality of the matter is, with women in the workplace as they are now, the majority of women in the workplace, just like the majority of men in the workplace, are working 9 to 5 or not even 9 to 5, but working service jobs, working fast food, working in bland offices, working in places that are pretty soul crushing, honestly, like really, really soul crushing places. And it's not the dream that a lot of the women at the time thought that they would be living. And I feel bad for a lot of the women in this newer generation, well, my generation too, and younger, because a lot of women didn't really sign up for this. Our culture has shifted in a way that they don't agree with, but they don't really have hold the reins of power to change it. Now, I don't necessarily think we need laws to change these things. I think that men and women under the law should be completely equal, that they should be allowed to work or not as they please. I think the laws should be treating us completely equal. However, I think our culture, we need to fix our culture, and you can't really fix culture by dictating it through laws. You can't just use the force of government to change culture. But I think our culture should be enforcing and pushing people towards some more traditional gender role positions in life. And that's, again, it's not always going to work out like that. And especially now where most homes need two people working in order to afford to pay the bare necessities. You need two people working in order to get by. I get it. I do. It's a struggle. But ideally, we push towards and try and advocate for the more traditional gender roles.
Tasks over and over again. Rather than like you can have your side hobbies in the home. Like, I'm sorry, if you're a housewife and you're bored, if you're bored, then you don't have enough hobbies. Like, come on, you can literally do whatever you want. And thank you for the subscription. I didn't see the name.
If you're bored, bake, sew, start a VTuber channel. There's lots of options out there.
Thank you. Just saying.
Raise some chickens. Do some gardening. Get far more critters in your house than your husband expects. There's things you can do.
She even went so far as to describe the feminine woman as someone who has been successfully castrated, stripped of her spirit to fit a domestic mold. And this is like...
Oh, that is so depressing.
The complete opposite of my, and I think also other women's experience of like, no, you feel like your spirit is crushed in the workplace. What? When
Growing up, I heard some people try and say that a lot of feminism is just like penis envy, just women being envious of men. And I fought back on that hard, but I'm coming around to that idea that it is just a envy and desire to be like a man. And that's really sad, honestly, because women are so important, and they bring so much to the world and so much purpose to the world. Um, I think most heterosexual men will openly say that the women in their lives are the biggest driver of their purpose. Without them, they don't have a purpose to work hard and to put in the hours at work and to build society. Like it's there's a reason why women were almost, or the muses were almost always women.
you spend hundreds of pages telling young women that their children are parasites and their biology is a castration, you don't create empowered women. You create a generation of women who view their own skin as a prison. And I think that's exactly like, I think if we talk to people who decide to change things for themselves, you would quickly see a lot of the feeling of like, I don't want to deal with this. You know, because like a lot of times before women get those types of surgeries, I'm pretty sure they wear like chest binders and like they don't want to figure out the archetype that they're in. They want to delete it. And then this part is super weird. She says the family is a unit of consumption, a device for the exploitation of women, and a nursery for the tiny, bigoted, and insecure. Like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? Is she talking about the kids, or is she talking about the women who want to be in the family as tiny, bigoted, and insecure, or the men? I don't know, but that's just a disgusting framing. From oppressive pregnancy to gender dysphoria, that's an interesting switch. This is the biological nihilism loop. If you spend 50 years telling women that their bodies are barbaric, that their reproductive organs are tools of oppression, and that motherhood is a parasitic experience, you create a generation of girls who view their natural development as a catastrophe. When a 12-year-old girl
Hmm.
today feels uncomfortable in her body, she isn't acting in a vacuum. She's the product of a culture that has devalued the feminine for half a century and
Yep.
has also raised her into not listening to her body.
They've devalued the feminine, trying to tell women that they need to be more masculine. And at the same time told men that they need to be more feminine. You need to talk about your feelings more. Some men do, okay? That's fine. Some men need to talk out their feelings, but the assumption basically has been for the last 50 years that the way that men deal with their emotions and their feelings is wrong, and they need to deal with them the way that women do, which is why they need to go talk them out rather than whatever else we do. Typically something physical, work out, wrestle, get in a fight. Not that I'm out there getting in fights, but there's other things we do to work out our emotions. Often working on some sort of project and just focusing. Um, Anyways, point being, they've devalued femininity in women and told men that their masculinity is toxic. And so, yeah, it's no wonder that over this 50 years, now we're seeing people moving to transgenderism and saying that, like, well, my natural state is bad, so I need to fix that by using surgical intervention.
So of course it's going to feel like a burden. You get what I'm saying? If it's a certain part
Yep.
of the month and you're feeling extra tired, but you have this commitment to your career, like you can't listen to that. You can't adjust. And people who are like stay at home, yeah, you have responsibilities, you have kids to take care of, whatever, but like you're flexible. Like you can take a nap, you can set the kids up to do something and rest. Like you have room to wiggle. It's not going to be like the crack of the whip of your employment, saying like, oh well, sucks to suck, regardless of how your hormones are feeling or how your body is feeling during this time of the month. Like, same output is what we need. If pregnancy is deforming and being a woman is a raw deal, why wouldn't she want to block puberty at 9 years old? Why wouldn't she choose to literally castrate herself to escape the parasitic future radical feminist Germaine Greer described? The sterilization and mutilation of girls today is simply taking the 1970s dogma that the female body is the source of my oppression to its ultimate surgical conclusion.
It's very sad. Genuinely, man, it is so sad to see people turning to this. And I think we're swinging the other way. I think culturally we're starting to push back on this. Should probably be pushed back a little bit harder than it has been, but we're getting there. I do have hope that we're getting there for a better future.
So I thought that was a pretty good angle that they went with here. Their deafening silence. In the year 2026, many of the old guard radical feminists who oppose the transgender movement focus almost exclusively on males and female spaces. That's interesting. Notice what they don't spend very much of their outrage on: the sterilization and mutilation of young girls. And just saying, this is another big problem for the dating market, is like women aren't raised with how to be women. They're not raised with how to like wield their femininity, with how to develop charm, with how to be persuasive, with how to be intelligent, and also like develop these domestic tasks or be able to regulate their emotions in a healthy way without just suppressing them. Like they don't have these skills, and the common skills are more masculinized.
Yeah, I think when I think of at least in the icons and stuff in books or history, or legends, I guess, a lot of times the best men were men that were very masculine and tamed that masculinity in a way that, not to say that it was no longer strong, but tamed it in a way to say that they could wield it well. They could use it efficiently when it was called for. And I think the same is true of women with their femininity. I dislike the hatred of femininity that has gone on in our culture, because femininity is such a beautiful thing. And yeah, women should learn to use their femininity in a way that is like a tool.
So then you get these hyper-competitive, masculinized women. And I'm sorry, but I think if you're like pushing your daughters into sports, like that's going to be their main thing, like that's masculinizing them. Like that should not be their focus. Now I think something like dance or like creative arts, yoga, Pilates, like that kind of skill set, they're gonna have those skills, they can teach it or whatever. Like that's different. That directly translates to a woman's sensuality. And
when she said sport, the first sport that I thought of, that I was kind of curious as to what she would think. So Venatrix, if you do ever see this video, I'm curious where you think like cheerleading lands on that, because cheerleading is definitely a sport, and at least it can be. But I think it also falls very in line with what you're describing here, of things like akin to yoga or gymnastics. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Femininity is something that will benefit her and her future spouse, but like the pushing of the classical, like you're gonna play basketball, like really, I don't think so. I don't think that's fitting. There's a reason for this silence. Many of these radical feminists still cling to the 70s dogma that the female body is a burden. If you spent your life teaching that the womb is a trap, you can't logically mourn when a young girl decides to cut it out. They are protecting the boundaries of their women-only club, but they have no love for the nature of the members. And that's what I'm saying. There's a big hatred of being female. And so I think that's something that you see like in relationships where women are resentful over being female. And I would say are resentful over being female in a non-traditional setup. You know what I mean? Like, yes, women have helped and worked throughout history, and that's not a problem to help your husband or to work alongside him, but it's very different than the mechanism of like mechanical female careers that are pumped out and pressed forward, if you get what I'm saying. And so I think that creates a lot of tension between men and women too, because women don't want to act like women. Even saying that apparently is like a hateful thing to say, like to act like a woman, that being different from a man is a good thing.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that it would be considered hateful to say that a woman is not acting like a woman, based on the amount of times that I've heard women tell me that I'm not a real man, or tell men that you're not a real man, you're not acting like a real man, but it's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine, I guess, but saying that a woman isn't acting like a woman, then you get pushback of, oh, well, what do you know about being a woman? And you're not, who are you to say what a woman is? A woman is whatever they want to be. And I'm like, that, you're just saying that women aren't anything. If they're literally whatever you want it to be, then they're not anything. They have no definition. And I don't like that. I'm not behind the idea that women don't have a definition.
So what kind of man would want to deal with that? Like, I wouldn't if I was a guy. They're protecting, oh, I already read that part. They've spent so long hating female beauty that they've become complicit in the erasure of the very girls they claim to represent. And I think this has to do too with like the upside down nature of like fashion and what's seen as attractive, like like how Gen Z, sorry, not to just attack one generation, but there's like this typical like Gen Z like mom pant, pleated puffy loose pant,
Yeah,
frumpy ass style
the mom
that
pants
I
are
feel
coming
like
back.
women are just taking on because they resent like, oh, I could actually like better my body and have a more feminine figure and like fulfill that archetype, and like that's too much pressure. I don't want to do that. I don't identify with what comes with being female like that, so I can just like go the opposite way and like engage in like the anti-beauty. And I think
I never really thought that about the mom pants thing. I mean, that I definitely saw plenty of mom pants when I was young and growing up, and I just kind of figured it was part of that cyclical style as fashion changes. So I don't know. Maybe it's people trying to avoid actually looking feminine and bettering their appearance or whatever. I guess that could be. Then we've seen over the last, I don't know, whatever, I know in my lifetime, we've seen people putting more and more outlandish tattoos. I'm not going to say tattoos themselves are a problem. I don't have a problem with tattoos themselves, but some people, like the facial tattoos and the neck tattoos, women tattooing their entire body in a way, and then dyeing their hair bright green, and then also putting in a nose ring, and specifically the septum ring, and like just coating their bodies in metal and all these things that are like, if you look at it, you're like, none of that is pretty. You might think that a particular piece of it is cool looking, but it's like, that's not pretty. It's like there's been a push to go anti-pretty, to avoid anything that looks particularly feminine. So it very well could be that this mom pant adoption is part of that, but I had never thought of it that deeply before. I just thought it was kind of funny to see the mom pants coming back.
I think there's a lot of that we see. All kids should learn jujitsu, in my opinion. I don't really agree that sports are masculine. Physical activity of all kinds is vital to health. Men and women in Sparta used to train together. I'm not saying that they shouldn't play at all. I'm saying it depends on the sport. Like, there's certain sports that develop your body in a certain way, which is just like objectively not an attractive female form. It's developing things in a weird way. So I'm saying, depending upon the sport, it's one thing to like engage in it recreationally. It's another thing to like push your kids or yourself as a woman, that like that's your thing, like you're the athlete, that's your main identity, and you're gonna fulfill that as a career. Like I think that's different. I think sports in general are good, you know, team building and exercise and all that. I just think it's about like what you're doing and how you're doing it. The logical conclusion:
It's fair.
The people who want to change what they were at birth movement hasn't hijacked feminism. It has fulfilled the radical feminist dream of transcending biology. If the body is a trap, then transitioning is the ultimate liberation. And I think that that's why people like this are always so like cagey about answering what is a woman, or like the way that they dress, or saying like it's whatever you want it to be. Like they're not just looking to swap sides. It's like an ideological framework of looking to transcend an archetype of gender at all. You know, and I think that also has to do with, don't quote me on this, go look it up, but like the Baphomet, a visual of like the blended female male like monstrosity kind of visual. It's like being anti those archetypes of gender. Radical feminists hate degenerate men in their sports and bathrooms, but they still hate beautiful feminine women even more. Make no mistake, this is the geriatric second wave's final desperate gasp to stay relevant in a culture they spent 50 years dismantling. We will not allow the architects of our daughter's misery to rewrite their sins on their political deathbed. So I thought that was really good. It was kind of long, but not that long. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'll put the link below in the description of this video. But something that actually just reminded me when we were saying about what's it called, about women and how they like treat each other, and they were talking about how women are trying to undermine femininity here. Like that to me also relates to like the older women undermining like a younger woman being attractive out of like jealousy. Same kind of thing. Like I think they're jealous of the archetype that they feel like they can't fulfill because they've spent a lifetime trying not to fulfill it. And so that's what the whole push for like, oh, cut off your hair, it looks cute. Like I think all of that is like anti-femininity. And then
Hey, short hair can look cute on women. I'll stand by that. Some women, when I met my wife, she had short hair, and she looked adorable. Let me tell you, the most adorable.
Trying to put that and enforce it as a rule.
All right, well, thank you, Venatrix, for that video. Well, I think I pretty well agree. Not like completely agreed, not like yes-manning you, but I think I agreed with most of what you had to say there. I do appreciate your takes on these things. Based Fox Girl is based. Any one of my viewers that hasn't checked out Venatrix before, please go check out her channel. Tell her I sent you. Not that I think any of you haven't found her before. She is so much bigger of a channel than mine. I'm sure any of you that are here have already seen her stuff before. But either way, thanks for hanging out, and you guys have a great day. Oh no, you've ended up in my den. You must think that this is the end, but you have no need to fret. There's still more to come yet. Click on subscribe to let YouTube know just how far this channel should go. More will come later, or if you so need, click on another video to see more of me in your feed.